This is RTP. This is RTP180.
Well, good evening, everyone. I've given many talks, but I must say that tonight I'm breaking, the session is breaking so many bounds. I've never given a talk with a wonderful sitar player, so many quantum physicists. I just love you guys. But, you know, the biscuit is these dogs in the front here. I've never did that. It's really terrific. Okay, so I'm a physicist, and I work at Duke. I'm an unusual physicist. I guess we're all fairly unusual, but I'm a medical physicist. And how do I sort of introduce, you know, the heart and soul of a tremendous profession with such an amazing history and mind-boggling accomplishments when you look at it? Well, I'm going to get you to imagine. We're going to go on a little imagination journey. Imagine it's World War I, and you're one of these unfortunate guys in the trenches. You all know the terrible signature event of the war, the trenches, and you're this guy here, and it's going to be your turn. You're going to have to come out of that trench and charge the enemy lines. And of course, what happens? You get shot. Don't worry, it's not lethal. It's just a flesh wound. But you can imagine, right? You've got to get to the surgeon. You've got to find it. You've got to get this. And fortunately, there's a magic device, a magic ray that's just been invented and it's just coming out on the battlefield. You don't have to take your clothes off. You just have to lie there, and people will take this magic ray and look at that. You can see exactly where your bullet is, and the surgeon can take it out. Just imagine how grateful you are for such a technology. So fasting forward a little bit, and this, of course, is X-ray technology. We use it all the time in hospitals, and we can see any kind of bone, any kind of resolution, any kind of deformity, damage, and it's just tremendously, tremendously useful. Just think how magical it is. But that's only the start. And what is it? Well, what is an X-ray? Well, it was discovered by a physicist, won the Nobel Prize in 1901, William Röntgen. And you know the electromagnetic spectrum, and you know the visible part. That's what we see. We can't see X-rays, but they're just a little bit further down here in the continuum of electromagnetic radiation. Nowadays, we can take 3D scans, and we can get excellent images of the brain. For example, here, this shows you the progression of technology. But X-rays can give you bony images. They don't do such a great job with soft tissue. If you want to look at anatomy in great detail, you're kind of very limited with X-rays because they just give you the density differences and not too much differences in different tissues. What you need is something different, and there was another major development. One of the wonderful quantum physicists mentioned it, I think, the nuclear magnetic resonance imaging. Here's some examples of a very spectacularly diverse set of sequences. You can tinker with all kinds of aspects of the MRI imaging to see different aspects of the tissue, and you can get really tremendous images, very, very useful. And of course, another Nobel Prize followed this, Peter Mansfield, who co-shared the Nobel Prize in Physics 2003. What happens? Here's a schematic. You basically put the patient in a very powerful magnetic field. All the nuclear spins in the tissue line up. You can flip the spins by sending in some RF pulses, and you have some gradient coils to image how those spins relax back to their normal state, and you can get these terrific images. How amazing is that? Fantastically useful, but we've not finished yet. So anatomy is great, right? But sometimes you really need to know the biology in the tissue. What are the actual functional characteristics of the metabolism and other aspects like that of the tissue? You can't really get that with MR unless you do spectroscopy, which is a bit more. But here's something we can do. It's called PET imaging. And this is going to blow your minds if you've not heard of it before, because we give our patients every day antimatter. Yes, we do. We give them radioactive tracers, not all patients, but patients that are going for this procedure. You can take a radio tracer, a molecule that gets taken up, for example, in regions of high metabolism, like a tumor, and there'll be a radioactive label in there. It'll decay by positron to give a positron. Positron is antimatter, and we know what happens when a positron meets an electron, which is regular matter. There's complete annihilation, and you get the release of back-to-back 511 keV photons, which you can detect. And you can back project to see exactly where that annihilation took place. And because this molecule is tagged to a molecule that's metabolized in the body, it tells you about tissue function. Incredible. So here's an example. You can see here's your MR images, which show terrific anatomy of a few different brain cases here. But the PET images, and you can image various different metabolic agents, can give you tremendous information about what's happening in those tissues. And so this is a Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 1943, but he was trained as a physicist, and as we all know, physicists are wonderfully adaptable and end up in all kinds of interesting fields. So last but not least, okay, it's fine to see things, right? It's fine to see anatomy, it's fine to see function, but at the end of the day, with many patients, you have to intervene in a disease that is going to kill that patient unless you do something. So here again, we can go back to radiation, which has a tremendous effect on tumor cells, and we have a variety of devices to treat lesions. There's an example here. And one of the founders of the field was Marie Curie, who discovered radium, and that was used in some of the first treatments where you implanted these radium seeds into tumors, and it had a biological effect. Nowadays, we still do brachytherapy with a variety of nuclear sources, but we also have high-energy machines like this, which can accelerate electrons way past the speed of light, and you can bend them and produce high-energy photon and electron beams, which are very effective at treating lesions. Imagine how you can target specifically an area that you've seen on an MR or a PET scan. You can bring the radiation. It's like a perfectly targetable drug, right? Normally drugs go everywhere in the body. This radiation, you can target it precisely, and tumor cells are much less able to tolerate radiation dose. So that's how we treat. And right now we can treat diseases anywhere in the body pretty much with tremendous precision, and we can do wonderful things for many, many of our patients. So in conclusion, I come from the Duke University Medical Physics graduate program, so please check us out on our website. I'm not here officially on any business relating to them, but I thought I'd mention it because it's kind of relevant. And the point I want to make really is that you have all the hard sciences, right? And we love these hard sciences. There's so many terrific innovations, but getting them to the clinical practice where you're applying them onto human patients with real challenges in their health, there's a big chasm of ecologies, right? The hard science and the clinical practice is a big chasm. So medical physics really fits in the middle here, and we like to be a bridge between these two and bringing the latest advances in the hard sciences into impact human health. And that's it.